C&D Anime Review presents
Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Mugen Train.
I'm Dave, he's Chris, and we are here to talk about this funny little anime movie.
Funny, you say? I'm about to say, that's kind of pushing it, but then again, I'm pretty sure you and I are in the minority on this.
Oh yeah.
Heavily.
So, since it's been a while since Chris and I have been on a camera talking about an anime movie, we would like to go ahead and plug where we came from. Let's go ahead and do it now instead of
I agree. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you've noticed us if you are a follower of Geek Carolina, with many channels that usually talks about wrestling, anime, kung fu flicks.
Anime, you say?
Anime.
What was the name of that little show that you had?
Oh, what was it again? I got it. It was 8-star anime. And I'm pretty sure you enjoyed our little trio that, has now dumbed ourselves down to duo. Times have changed, but, we're still here giving you the anime reviews.
COVID-19. No, I'm kidding.
Now, there's other reasons.
And we'll find other people and bring them back as this picks up.
If you like it, let us know in the comments down below. Tell us what you want us to review. We can do any series, any movies, and we'll talk about it.
So we went a couple weeks ago and watched this in theater for the first time in probably a year.
Definitely in about a year or so.
I can't remember if I watched this one or Raya and the Last Dragon, but those were the first movies I've seen since I could not tell you when.
That's fair, because everything I've watched up until now was on streaming services as an alternative at the time. So, but we're here to talk about Demon Slayer.
Alright, so as you can see in our little background, we have the main character from the anime. What is the name of the Demon Slayer?
Tundra. He is our, a typical shonen protagonist, where he's motivated very heavily in his series with revenge. But he does not necessarily have the skills or technicality to do so, but he eventually will get there. But we'll talk about that at probably a later date when we get a little more into the full series itself.
Oh yeah, when we review it. And then the character on the other side is
the Flame Hashira, known as Rengoku. He is a man who's at the top of the charts when it comes to demon slaying. To the point where he's actually one of... Oh, God. I'm trying to remember.
Like the top 8 or something?
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's something like that.
But the real secret is, he is the senpai.
He's one of them.
Yeah.
I guess if you want to put it that way.
His magical ability is the inability to blink.
I know, right? But I've never seen a man so stoic, just, yeah.
So... Chris,
yes.
When you first went and watched this movie, had you ever seen Demon Slayer anything?
I will put that as a caveat to this review. The answer is no.
Well, I bring it up because I want to get your first response to it.
This movie, in all honesty, just, as for, on its own, was really boring to me. Only because the pacing for what I like is a little bit slower, almost as if this could have been a few episodes on TV.
Mushed together
as one thing, and I can feel that.
Now, I had actually watched this on probably Crunchyroll maybe a year or so ago. So I did remember it. It wasn't fresh in my mind, and as if anyone's ever watched anything that I've reviewed, memory is not my strong point anyways.
It is what it is. It's just that after getting a chance to watch the series, the season 1, all 26 episodes leading into this movie, certain things made sense, and certain things I was able to go, okay, that actually makes this part of the movie cool, this makes this part of the movie alright. And actually, in my personal opinion, I now understand where a lot of people thought this series in very high regards. And that's why, in this review, you'll notice we might be a bit of a negative Nancy's, but that's because I've seen a lot of anime through the years, folks.
And this one actually isn't all that great.
It really isn't.
It's a lot of fun, though.
It is fun. Now, like I said, we are in a minority in our thought process, and we know
According
that.
to the internet.
And we do know that.
So I had kind of talked to Chris during the movie a little bit and reminded him that, part of this is, okay, let me go rephrase this.
Okay.
Coming into the movie, one of the biggest complaints I think anyone would have is, if you haven't watched the season, it makes no sense.
That is the one thing about this movie compared to other anime films. Even with My Hero Academia doing their films and stuff like that. Granted, watching the series helps you understand who the characters are, but the series itself does not necessarily prepare you for what you're about to watch.
Well, using that for example, so I wasn't the biggest My Hero Academia fanatic. I had watched season 1 and it was okay. I don't need to know that the green-haired kid is gaining his superpowers from the big superhero guy by eating hair and practicing and training. None of that kind of how this starts, what they're doing, none of that mattered for the movie. The movie had a plot, it had a device, and it told the story, and it kept going. This movie, The Demon Train, like, why is there a girl in a box? Why is there a dude with a pig on his head? Why is there a demon capable of making people fall asleep? None of this is explained.
No, none at all. So, like, we don't get that background. It's expected going into this movie that you have seen the first 26 episodes, season 1 essentially, of this show going into it. Now, I understand there are people who are like avid manga readers, stuff like that, who already know what's going to happen and whatnot, but I'm talking about people who have literally sat there and said, no, I watch anime.
Or someone who's like looking at this now going, I wonder if this is a DVD I want to rent.
Correct. Now, granted, before we get into the actual review of the show and synopsis and stuff like that, I just want to bring up the fact that this movie has grossed a heavy amount of money to the point where it's
$500 million.
Yes, and has completely outgrossed what used to be until recently the number one film, Spirited Away by Studio Ghibli.
But Chris and I were talking about that off camera.
We were.
We used a little bit of internet, like usinflationcalculator.com, and we put in Spirited Away's money, and we adjusted it for the inflation for it being a 20-year-old film. They would be, for adjustment, about $690 million.
Mm-hmm.
But still, that's $690 million versus this $500 million. That's not that big of a difference. And for an anime film like Spirited Away, which was considered groundbreaking and genre-defining, and this one to be nipping at its heels, that says something about the power of this fandom and how widespread anime is starting to get nowadays, actually.
Correct. Because that, to me, is where I think a lot of the numbers comes into. This series caught fire, and for people who are following the series, why would you not go to the sequel to the first season, knowing that inevitably there will be a second season, and you'll probably definitely want to watch the movie going forward, because there might be a review episode, but the movie is definitely needed if you're going to go forward into the series. Because essentially Mugen Train is an actual arc in the series itself that you would miss a lot of important bits going into future episodes of Demon Slayer.
I was actually excited to see the film because I had enjoyed the anime. One of Chris's complaints about the movie, he said in the theater, was it felt like it was two stories.
Yes.
Pushed together into one movie. And I kind of laughed because I thought the first season was kind of like two seasons pushed together into one.
And I can see that. But I know first season had 3 really intricate arcs.
Mm-hmm.
You had Tanjiro and his sister Nezuko. That was kind of their arc because you were trying to get the dynamic of this is a sibling love, that this is what's going to keep these two together.
And the introduction to the world and the training.
Correct. Then you kind of go into him going into this, now I am a Demon Slayer, here's my first few missions.
And gathering up his group.
Essentially, or meeting up with them for the first time. And we'll get to one of the characters in a minute, because boy, will I rant on that. And then we get into
the kind of the third arc.
The third arc where they actually go against someone who is
way out of their league.
Way out of the league. And we'll get to that in a minute, because that's kind of where a lot of this movie also ends up as well. Which is a good way to look at things. So we've kind of dove into what the movie has done, our initial thoughts, stuff like that, kind of going in and out of it. Let's go ahead and dive into the movie. Now, if anybody's familiar with our 8-Star Anime reviews, you know we are spoilerific.
Spoilerific.
So we may say some things that if you have not seen the series and are interested, let's let you know this is the time where you might want to be like, nope, we'll stop here and maybe skip ahead to where we talk about our ups and downs.
Right.
But for now, we're going to go ahead and go into the movie itself. So in this movie, Mugen Train, our trio, actually no, not really a trio. We say trio, but there are actually 4 people. But we'll get to that in a minute.
The sister's almost more like equipment than she is a full character.
But our trio, Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke, all are given a mission after finally recovering at the end of season 1 to go help with Rengoku and taking down a high-ranking demon who has been picking off other demon slayers and passengers boarding a train, going from one place to another. What places, couldn't tell you.
Well, so the setting for this anime is the Meiji Reformation.
Thank you.
After about probably about 1860.
Mm-hmm.
I'm messing with the numbers because the time doesn't always serve the story. So just remember that. The industrialization of Japan is starting. The end of the samurai period is happening.
Essentially is where this whole setting of the whole show is. But after they board and get on, they meet Rengoku, who, finally acknowledges Nezuko as a
Demon Slayer.
As a Demon Slayer, and someone who should be an ally and not somebody that needs to be slain because she happens to be a demon. But shortly after, they are put to sleep. Now, they're put to sleep, and each one of them goes through a dream sequence that we see, and each one of these dreams is a reality that they wish
was real.
We find out this is Enmu, our demon, doing as he's put them to sleep, so it's easier for him to devour their souls.
And every passenger.
And every passenger as well. And since he knows there's demon slayers on there and they need to be taken care of before he's able to devour them, he has other passengers who are unfortunately struck with insomnia and can't go to sleep to go in and actually take care of the demon slayers by taking out their cores.
To me, they seem like maybe orphan children that wanted a better life, and so they were willing to work for the Demon Slayer. Because if he was to touch the hunters' highly trained senses would wake them up.
Correct. So they had to be very careful how they did that. However, only one problem. They didn't realize Nezuko is inside a box that Tanjiro carries with him. And of course, with that, Nezuko uses her blood art, the exploding blood, which is an amazing blood art in this series. I'm sorry, I just love that power. It's great. And essentially gets Tanjiro to kind of essentially realize something's up.
That the world that he's seeing, that the reality is not
exactly it. And
there was a second problem.
What was that?
It's this trio. Because this trio is so weird. So weird.
I'll get back to that in a minute once I'm done with the synopsis. Trust me, we'll get back to that in a minute.
It's like the demon couldn't have picked the worst 3 people to go up against.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. But we find out in this once Tanjiro realizes he's stuck in his dream, he goes through pretty extreme measures to get out of it. And I'll let you.
I remember now.
Yeah, I will let you watch the movie on that part. But once he's able to awaken, he realizes, oh crap, we need to get everyone up. However, that doesn't necessarily happen right away because it's not necessarily a spell that you can just get outside, by normal means. But once he figures out what's going on, he initially goes in for tries to find a demon on his own. In the meantime, Rengoku finally ends up waking up. Eventually, Inosuke ends up waking up. The only person who's not is Zenitsu, and which, to be honest, is probably the best part of his character, the fact that he stayed asleep. And we'll get to that in a minute.
Well, I mean, it's really easy. If you've seen the anime, it's why.
You know why.
If you haven't, the character is a coward, and when his subconscious takes over, he's amazing.
100%.
At one move. But he does it really great.
Well. Yeah. He does extremely well.
So with him asleep and his subconscious in charge, he's actually effective.
And actually a pretty damn good character, and I'm okay with that. But we'll get to his other problems in a minute, and I'll get there later.
There are many.
Yes. But once they realize that, the demon's already got there, and they find the demon, Tanjiro does his very best to fight off the demon to the best of his abilities, and looks like he has actually had it won by himself.
Go to sleep.
Yep.
Go to sleep.
Constantly.
That was a kind of a neat thing, but it got old quick.
It did, because it's not like Tanjiro doesn't know how to get out of it. That was the thing. If Tanjiro hadn't figured out how to get out of it, it wouldn't have been a problem.
It would have been powerful.
Very powerful. But once he was able to get the demon, we thought he was killed, because he thought he had him. But, twist, the demon had already integrated itself as part of the train itself.
Say what?
Yes.
You mean it was a demon train?
Yes. Oh, no. But with that, at that point, Tanjiro was in a bit of a bind, because how do you fight the train itself when there was at least 7 or 8 cars of passengers he had to try to save and fight the demon at the same time?
Well, luckily, he has that other idiot to help him.
Exactly. So Inosuke is now helping fight the main demon, and so with Rengoku, who is so badass, he's able to save
8 cars.
No, there's 8 cars total. He's able to save like 5 or 6 himself.
Yeah.
And then he lets Zenitsu and Nezuko pretty much take care of the other ones.
The other 1 or 2, yeah.
1 or 2, and I was like, this guy is that good. He is like, no, I got these ones in the back. You go ahead and take the couple up front.
So take care of my light work.
And but this was allowed. But the funny part is, you would think Rengoku would have been like, well, I'll take care of them. You guys take care of stuff. But this was a chance to see our 3 characters really shine, or more or less Tanjiro and Inosuke.
Well, now that you bring that up, it does show one aspect about this Demon Slayer as opposed to some from the season. You didn't know it watching it, but now you do. Some Demon Slayers are all about the hunt. Some Demon Slayers are about protecting people. Some Demon Slayers are in it for other reasons, and it was nice to see a very heroic character.
Yes, because Rengoku is, in my personal opinion, he knows that, at the end of the day, what's more important is make sure these people are safe.
He is lawful good paladin boy all day through.
So while he's doing all the protecting, because he knows his spot is better served protecting the people, he's letting our other characters handle the actual demon himself. Because you guys are strong enough now. You guys should be able to do this. Because you guys don't necessarily have the skills, aptitude to save an entire train.
Right. And be everywhere at once. Unlike Lightning Boy.
That's his only saving quality, is that he has lightning as his power, so he's extremely fast. So that actually is a great quality that he has. I just really wish he can do it while he's conscious. I really do. But that's enough of that. So, as we get to
Chapter 2.
part 2, Tundra and Inosuke figure out a way to finally kill away the demon and do so effectively. And right when we think, oh, people are saved, everything's calm.
The day has been won.
Yes, we're doing great. We go from a low-ranking demon to actually one of the high-ranking demons that show up literally for almost no reason. I mean, literally no reason, just kind of shows up.
You're absolutely correct. There was no plot reason for that dude to be there, except maybe it was Tuesday.
He shows up, he goes, he looks at Rengoku and says, hey, you're pretty strong. You're definitely powerful, I can sense it. Join our side.
Let's make a fight.
Yeah, we can fight forever, this would be great. And Rengoku's like, negative. At that point, they started fighting, and it was literally a one-on-one fight that just magically happens that feels like a completely separate thing from what the movie was to begin with. And the fight was so intense that Inosuke, the one character who is very active and very I'm going to go in there and get the job done kind of character, he was like, I can't step in. If I step in, I get in Rengoku's way. And probably cause problems. Like, even he realized that this is not a fight he needs to be in. And, fortunately, at the end of the day, the bad guys win. How? I'll let you guys watch the movie. Hopefully you'll have a chance at it. But, let's just say things don't go very well for Rengoku. With that being said,
it's funny the way you put this. You know how that fight scene and all this stuff. And I mean, I'm sitting here thinking it's like watching this one movie, and in the middle of it, or the last 1/3 of it is a Rocky fight scene.
Yeah,
and I can't figure out what the first movie is. I don't know. It's like watching an hour and a half of Nightmare on Elm Street, and then all of a sudden there's a Rocky fight.
Yeah,
but instead of it being Rocky against Apollo Creed, it's Nancy from Elm Street.
But at the end, it was the biggest thing that I took away from the big fight at the end that I do like going forward into the series is this is where Inosuke, Tanjiro, and all them realize all the training they did, all that hard work they did throughout the series, they are nowhere near fighting a top-ranked demon. And that's the biggest takeaway from that. And I like that because that shows that these characters still have a lot to grow, and at the very least, Tanjiro for sure, who is highly motivated, literally by revenge.
I think he's motivated by a few other things.
Mostly revenge.
That's the start.
It's mostly revenge at this point. Because
you think so? I think he grows a little bit.
He does grow.
Not the movie, obviously.
No. But I still think the whole bit is revenge. The only other thing he's really fighting for is he believes there is a way to turn Nezuko back to being human.
And he's protecting her.
And he's protecting her in the process. But for the most part, a lot of his motivations is essentially a revenge story. But, like I said, this is, if you're an Advent anime watcher, that's what you got. For those who read the manga or keep up with it, probably know that the series technically is not finished. The series actually ended in the manga at the end of 2020.
Really?
Yes. 205 chapters?
Wow.
Something like that. And the series has officially ended. So all that's left for essentially do so at this point to make more money is print the rest of the books, make the rest of the series into animation, and they'll be making money for the next couple of years easy.
And sell more t-shirts.
Oh, 100%.
So what was something that you did like in the movie when we left the theater?
Visually, it looks amazing.
It's very well animated. In fact, the background picture that we found for the border here,
yeah,
I was very surprised at the quality of that picture.
I can believe that.
It looks great.
The actual 2D animation in this series looks really well, and they use a lot of ancient art styles into a lot of the attacks and stuff like that they use. and you can
Right.
and that really truly cements it. But this movie in particular, more than I think the series itself, the movie does a lot of 3D rendering in the background, which I will admit in certain places does not mesh up very well with the 2D animation.
3D animation being mixed with 2D animation never matches 100% well.
And so, but they're like, it's just in certain places, mostly through a lot of the action scenes, is where you really notice it. But during the rest of it, like just the times when they're not necessarily fighting, it works really well. It pops, it gets your attention, and I really do like that aspect of the movie.
The old art style when everybody's screaming their moves, I had forgotten about that, but I did enjoy that.
Yeah,
It almost looks like an animated version of a wood print of old Japanese art.
and that's something I really praise the series for doing, because that's something different in a series that I have not actually seen before. I haven't seen an animation so visually stunning like that. Because in My
In
Hero,
a while.
in a really long while. Because My Hero Academia, the reason it attracted me was because you could definitely tell it was influenced by Western style
Superheroes, jokes, and
Yes, you can 100% tell it was definitely Western influence, which is why I.
Well, so you bringing that up, that's something I liked about this. Having gone in and seen the first season before the movie, I liked how these characters were who they were in the series. When we watched My Hero Academia, it had such a large cast that a lot of the characters that are funny, a lot of the characters that are serious, a lot of the characters that are whatever emotional aspect they get lost in the movie. And you get kind of a toned down version of the characters because the personalities are feeding the story. And this one, the story was kind of loose to begin with, and the characters stayed exactly true to what they were the whole time.
Yes, because the cast is fairly small, and that's kind of what it allows you to emphasize the characters, their growth. Also emphasizes the world building a lot easier.
Yes.
Because you can actually figure out like how did they react to what's going on around them, and you only get a few options versus a classroom full of 20 students where you get a little bit of everybody.
I wish I'd have brought my helmet so that you could go ahead and talk about what you didn't like.
Oh my lord. Gosh. I can go on and on about what I didn't like about this movie, but I'll keep it short, I'll keep it sweet. Like I say, I know I'm in the minority, so please don't blast me too much in the comments.
Well, I think you're in the minority for not liking the series. I don't think you're in the minority for not liking the movie.
I still think I am, because regardless if it's an influx of people who are a fan of the series that went to see this movie that made it successful as it is, that's still a lot of fans that went to go watch this movie.
I wish Will was here so he could give us a point of view, because I don't think he had seen the series either.
I think he was in the middle of watching the series when he went to see this, so he knew some things about it. I was literally the only person who had literally not watched the series going in. And granted, I do admit that does kind of make me go, well, if you hadn't seen the series, why would you go watch the movie? And I said, that's my point.
I mean, first of all, it was something to do.
It really was.
We were so tired of not seeing movies and not hanging out. And he had already seen Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yeah, I did see that already. What's
the Lightning Kid's name?
Zenitsu.
Zenitsu?
Yeah, it's Zenitsu.
He is 89% of what I hate about this movie.
Oh, he's a majority of why I hate the movie.
I hate the character.
Because at the beginning, they get on the train, and he's the only one sitting there screaming like, oh gosh, what are we going to do? Whoa. I'm thinking to myself, like, why are you panicking? I'm going to say, at this point, hey, you know that Tanjiro and Inosuke are with you, and you know they're competent fighters. You know that Flame Hashiro's with you. If nothing else, he's going to protect you.
And then you watch the series, and you learn the character's first appearance. Oh my god, will you marry me? I'm going to die!
The worst Playboy I've ever seen in my life. That's what kills me. But he is such a character that, in my opinion, like, how in the world are you going to do this Demon Slayer gig for any reason, regardless of why you're... Because, you know, whether you're paying a debt or whatnot is the reason why you got trained to begin with, which I thought was funny. The only funny part about him. why can't you just go out there and at least attempt to fight? Why do you have to cower? Why do you have to be scared? Why do you feel like you need to treat women like... And you didn't even treat women correctly. Like, there's a point at the series where all the women are like, stop. We do not like you, and we could learn to like you if you'd stop doing what you're doing.
Which is everything that you're doing. It's like this character needs some of the largest character growth in the world, or he needs to die and become a plot point for the other two.
Now, I have been told that he does get his moment.
Okay.
So basically, he does get something towards, I guess, the end of the series, or some point in the series. So,
and the guy with the pig on his head. What's his name?
Inosuke.
Inosuke is annoying to me, but I can understand why he exists, and I don't hate him.
Now he's a character. Now he's a very popular character, which is hilarious for basically his personality, which is funny because that's the same reason Bakugo in My Hero Academia is popular. He has the same explosive nature.
Oh,
yeah, the exact same explosive nature, where it's like, I'm better than everyone. I know I can go out there and win this fight. Why you got cowards to take back seat? I got this.
Did you see him in the series without his mask?
That's what I was getting to. The one thing about Inosuke that makes me like him a lot versus Zenitsu is the fact that underneath that mask, he's a pretty boy. And that makes me laugh horrendously.
Does he look like Ranma to you?
To a degree.
I first saw that, I was like, oh my god, he looks like Ranma so much. He's even got the little pigtail.
No, the part that killed me was the mask falls off him for the first time. They see his face. I'm like, his face does not match his character. And that is probably the funniest thing about Inosuke to me. But other than that, I've never liked characters like him. Which is why I've never been a Bakugo fan and so many other people that have that same explosive personality. And I sit there and I go, I want to like him. I think he can do really good. And the only reason why he's a step up from Zenitsu is the fact that he's a competent fighter.
Well, I mean, he's self-trained. That's the scary part.
And he's really good at what he does.
He made up his own styles, and the styles that the other Demon Slayers do, he made up his own.
Mm-hmm.
So since we kind of made the joke that this is the C&D review show.
Yes.
So, this movie.
Yes.
Should it cease and desist?
No.
No.
No, it should go on. In fact, the fact that it's made as much money as it has, I think if it makes more, fantastic. I personally think this series is actually good. I will give it a thumbs up.
I like the series. I did not care for the movie. Which was a letdown, because I really wanted to like it.
To be fair, I do say series, but I also consider the movie in that same category for a reason, and only one reason only. Because if they're going to continue the series, and they are, it's a part of it. It's a story, these stories are necessary, and the story that happens in the movie is actively important going forward. Especially the ending to it. And
did you go see the animated Star Wars Clone Wars in the theater?
Yes.
And it was a giant commercial for the series coming out?
Essentially.
That's how I felt about this movie.
Okay.
That's why I didn't like it.
Okay, if you want to go that route, sure. Okay, if you want me to go that route, then yes. If should it cease and desist? Yes. If that's what you want to go out for, then yes, I will say yes. Because if I were to take this movie by itself, it does not hold up. The reason why I say that is, let's talk about some other animated movies based on series that have been out so far. So, whether you like them or not, for other reasons. Dragon Ball Super had the Broly movie.
Now, did I watch that one with you?
Nah, I watched it with Larissa and William at the time. Okay. But what I was getting at...
I appreciate you leaving me out of that.
I knew you were going to rant and rave about that movie just because.
Well, even the one that you did make me watch, I thought it was stupid, but at least it was a movie.
Fair. But the idea behind it is the Broly movie is for one, most people know what Dragon Ball Z is by this point in time. It's been around since the 80s. But even if you didn't, you're watching a movie that literally is just, here's your good guys, here's your bad guy, they're about to fight, and you're watching a literally hour and a half long, technically fight scene essentially for this movie.
Isn't this and Dragon Ball Z, for example, aren't they considered shonen?
Yes. Actually, I was going to get to that a little bit later because that I was going to bring that up towards the grossing part of the series and why it's number one. And I'll get to that in a minute. But what I'm saying is about movies is, let's take the two My Hero Academia movies. Granted, sure, you may not necessarily know.
Did you say 2?
Yeah, there's about to be 3.
Oh, I only ever watched that one with you guys.
Oh, there's the second one. Maybe when I went to that one. That one's way better than I think the first one was. But what I'm getting at is the fact that though the series introduces the characters, and you kind of want to know some of the characters going into those movies, that's not necessary. Because the characters kind of pretty much present themselves as,
everything you need to know.
Everything you really need to know. Like, what are their powers, kind of the personality in comparison to the main character, or what's going on in the situation. How are they useful to the movie and stuff like that. And they are excellent standalone movies. Because I don't necessarily have to watch them to continue from Season 1, Season 2, Season 3. Doesn't matter. I can just go, alright, cool, first movie, that was great. I liked story they told. That was awesome. Second movie, same thing. They just implemented some things that happen in the world, or they kind of went, oh, this is something that could happen in the series. What happens if they were to do this? Boom, here's your movie. And I think that's what makes it hold up. The only other movie I've seen that actually is actively needed to continue on, or it's a part of a series storyline-wise, was they recently released on Netflix the Sailor Moon Eternal double movie feature.
Okay.
That's literally season 4 and 2 movies. And I felt it kind of had the same problem as the Demon Slayer movie that we're talking about now. Is that I felt like if it was a part of second season where it was in episodes, I think it would work perfectly. And when you mesh it as a movie, I feel like it's either too much or not enough.
See, I feel like this movie's not enough. And then maybe when second season comes out, it'll actually redeem this movie. Because I was sitting here thinking, if some great secret had been revealed, because as you can see, his earrings, for those of you who haven't seen the series, they're a gift from his father. And he learned some kind of ritualistic dance from his father, which he ends up incorporating in his fighting style near the end of season 1, and it's an amazing trick that shouldn't work. So he actually wants to talk to, what's his name again? This one right here?
Rengoku.
About it and see if he knows anything. And he's like, no, I've never heard of anything like that before. And I thought, had he heard about it, had he been able to reveal some secret, that might have made this even that much more redeemable.
I agree.
And maybe in season 2, where Goku. Oh, Goku. When Goku kind of acknowledges them, if that carries over into the second season, then maybe there's some value here that we're not knowledgeable of.
Like I said, if you're a manga reader, you're like, well, these
two dorks don't know what they're talking about.
I'm like, and yes, I get it, but we're trying to, for people who are literally just anime watchers, and there are a lot of us here who literally are just anime watchers. Believe it or not, there's quite a few.
I think most anime people are just interested in anime in general, not any kind of specifics.
Yeah, it's true. Because I've talked to a lot of people. I've been working stuff like that. A lot of them will go, oh, I don't read the manga. I just if it's an anime, I'll watch it.
Or I like anime, but I don't know where to get into it at.
Yeah, and it's stuff like that. And you realize that if I'm watching it piece by piece, and I'm waiting for season 2 to hurry up and show up, the movie kind of just puts more questions in your head then really gives you answers.
Well, then maybe that's what it's supposed to do to begin with. Maybe it's supposed to keep that burning desire for season 2 going.
I mean, sure. I just feel like
Yeah, but he went in.
I went in pure blind, and my brain went.
I don't know if I really want to watch this.
I was hoping like because at first I didn't realize that it was part of the series.
Right.
I didn't realize it was an arc of the series. I was like, oh, if I had known that, I would have binged watched the series before I went in. But like I said, mistakes were made. I did rectify it. Like I said, I did watch the series, and I do see it in a different light. I just think the movie itself does not hold up for itself.
Well, there you go. There's our review and synopsis. What did you want to talk about Shonen?
So, a lot of people tend to try to quantify this as, this is the best of the best. I said, oh, trust me.
Really?
Yes. And I've actually heard that before. And I do have to admit, it's doing very well for itself. But you also have to remember, this is in the moment. I would say the series itself probably started really picking up its numbers probably in the last 2, maybe 3 years. With, sales, viewing of the movie and stuff like that.
People being stuck at home and forced to watch streaming services.
Yeah, I know, right? But for those who are just really into the series, and I do appreciate that y'all do that because that gives us more anime down the future for people to make. When I look at it, I sit there and I kind of go, well, for Shonen series, right now it's looking fairly hot. Probably is top dog, and I can understand that. It's in the moment. There's a lot of series out there, but right now Demon Slayer seems to capture a lot of people's hearts in comparison. But if you take other animes, probably from other genres or any other areas, or even other series that we may not have ever seen here in the States, because it wouldn't make sense to us in any way, shape, or form, it's up there, but probably a lot lower than some other series that may be out there that we may not know. But it's not the top. It's not truly the top dog. It's top dog, like I said, in the moment. Well, if I were to, because if we really were to talk top dogs for Shonen, whether it's from Shonen Jump or from any other magazine or producers and stuff like that, it's got a lot of catching up to do.
Let's say it's talking. The only thing it's top right now is how much money it's made as a movie,
and that to me is like, okay, cool.
One aspect.
I think the series has done really well, and I think it will continue to do well for the next couple of years as the rest of the books come out, the next seasons come out, stuff like that. And I think, yay, more power to you. I will watch those as well. I will probably give my reviews on those as time goes on. But it's got a long way to catch up to series like One Piece and all this other kind of stuff. And a lot of people are like, because, oh my gosh, the internet blew up when they thought, oh, Demon Slayer is found number 1. It finally surpassed One Piece. I said, no, it hasn't. One Piece has been around since '97, and it has been top of the charts until literally about 2 years ago in sales and stuff like that. Literally a couple years ago. I was like, oh, it's got 15, almost 20 years to catch up on that. It ain't there yet, guys. It might be, but it ain't there yet.
So, did they ever find that One Piece?
No, actually, that's the other thing. One Piece is still technically going, so it's going to keep going until it officially stops. That's the one thing Demon Slayer, unfortunately, has the downside to, is that the series is over. So, eventually, what's going to happen is, once everything is finished being produced, animated, stuff like that, and whatnot, and actually just starts to calm down after maybe something else kind of takes more interest down the road, it'll be up there. Like, if I were to say top 10, of course the series is going to be on there 100%. But it won't. But I don't think it will actually truly catch up in cumulative years. I think it will do well, but I don't think it's going to catch up.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
For next week,
what do we do?
Goblin Slayer movie.
They did a movie?
It's on Crunchyroll.
I didn't know they did a movie. I know they had a series.
Yeah.
But and the series is really graphic.
Yeah, well, we're not going to go into that part.
Yeah, but we'll get there in a minute. But I think that'd be a good idea. I think we can go with that.
Excellent. So, if you guys have any anime suggestions for us, or movie suggestions, or video suggestions about this new format, other than that the camera is poor, we know that it's coming off our laptop.
I'm about to say, hey, we gotta start somewhere. Eventually we'll quality. We'll get there.
Or we'll get sock puppets and you won't care.
That'd be hilarious, actually. But no. This video did run long, but hey.
It's the first time we've done one in almost
really
2 years.
Time. And it'll get better, just like I said. Give us suggestions, give us what your thoughts, what you want to see next from us, and we'll do better. We want to please y'all. We want to do more of these. This is what
more of these. More thumbs ups.
Yeah, because I prefer not to give thumbs down to a lot of anime.
Oh, yeah,
yeah. Just one last thing before we close out. Once again, we are being negative Nancy's. That's because we are an opinion.
Yes,
we are not
poopy.
Fair enough. We are a slim opinion. Does not mean does not mean do not go out and see it. It does not mean do not enjoy it, because I will tell you right now, I still had fun with this.
Right.
So, in my personal opinion, do I give it a thumbs down? Sure. Do I recommend to watch it? Oh, hell.
Well, I would say this. So, one of my favorite reviewers was Glass Reflection. And one of his things would always be rent it, buy it, watch it, whatever.
Yeah.
This movie's definitely worth a rent.
Yes.
Especially if you've watched the series.
I would definitely say this is definitely something you still want to get into. Now, granted, if you are a fan of the series, once again, before we go up, this is something that is needed going forward if you're going to continue the series. So, if you like the series, watch the movie. I do guarantee you that. If you're not,
you'll enjoy it. Yeah,
you'll definitely enjoy it. If you're not necessarily a fan of the series,
and some of what we described as genres that you like, you'll probably enjoy it.
So there's that.
If you're on the fence, skip it.
I agree. But other than that, I think it's time to wrap it up. What do you say?
Get out of my house.
All right.
Bye, guys.
See ya.